because when we're lit up, because it's something we love to do, everything's different. Our attitude's different, our energy's different, our behavior's different, our courage is different, our vision is different.
Well, look, I want to jump right into the book because there's been so much in the book that I have found to just be like what I refer to as the great aha, like aha, right? One of the key concepts that I love that you talk about is the 5 fears. I've never heard someone actually take the time to break down fear. Everybody's like, well, this is how you overcome fear. This is how you attack fear. But you're like, no, well, you can't attack it before you understand it. So why don't we understand it? Then we'll try to attack it. Tell everybody what the 5 fears are.
That's so good. That's such a good insight. So the 5 universal fears, I believe, are the fear of rejection, the fear of failure, the fear of success, the fear of judgment, and the fear of change. Mm. And so what I tried to do in the book is, first of all, I like to point out, Stephen, that we make our fears up. Not that they aren't real, but we make them up. And if we can buy into that, then we can believe that if we made them up, we can unmake them up. Mm-hmm. And so change begins with awareness. I tried to break down each fear so that the reader can identify which one of those fears or which combination of those fears may be keeping them stuck or paralyzed or from moving forward. And once you have that awareness, then you can make the choice to think differently, believe differently, act differently.
Well, we don't have time to break things down to the granular level that you did in the book, because everybody, I mean, honestly, it would take us 6 shows, right? Because there's so much in there. But for the audience, try to give them a snapshot of how each one of those fears kind of can appear in your life and hold you back. We'll take rejection right off the top, for example. How does that fear show up?
Well, I work with salespeople all day, every day. And I've been a salesperson, and the people I coach and train are salespeople. So fear of rejection, how does that show up? You know, they don't respond to your post, or they don't show up to the sales call, or they tell you no after listening. And what I try to tell the salespeople is, look, when somebody tells you no, they're not telling you no to your soul. Okay. They're just telling you no to either your products, your business, whatever your offer is. To make it a little more transparent, I tell a story in the book on how 10 years ago I was divorced, and about 3 years ago, I decided to start thinking about talking about possibly dating again. And so for a period of time, I was all talk and no action, even though I knew I was all talk and no action.
That was fear of rejection?
Fear of rejection. Well, the last time I dated, I was 22, I'm 61. And I thought, I don't want to be her, because 22-year-old Leslie was easily rejected. If the boy didn't like me, I did take it personally, and I did not want to go into dating in that same mindset. So I had to get to a place emotionally, because intellectually, I know I may dig some guys and they're not all going to dig me. I get that intellectually, but emotionally, I had to get to a place where if I like a man and he doesn't like me, I'm still marvelous.
That's right. Very true.
And once I got there, I do not bring fear of rejection into the dating process, which is making it, well, COVID has sort of slowed this whole process down, but once we move forward into the future, rejection will not play a role in my dating process.
Love it. Love it. How about one of the other fears? Let's pull apart another one. This is fun.
Fear of success is one
good one. That's such a good one.
Yet many people are surprised that there really is such a thing. Mm-hmm. And it can be quite pervasive and quite paralyzing. So fear of success, I believe, usually comes from something that happened when we were young. We said something great. I'm going to sell more Girl Scout cookies, or I'm going to get the lead in the school play, or I'm going to ride my bike to the top of that mountain. And whoever we said that to looked at us and basically said, no, you're not. Yeah. Or what makes you think you're going to do that? Or boys don't do that, or girls don't do that, or nobody in our family's ever done that, or don't get bigger than your britches, or some shit that just shot us down. So a tape starts playing and continues to play for a long time, depending on how old you are. So now as an adult, you think of something grand. I'm going to start my own business, or I'm going to ask for a raise, or, so you think of something grand. And what you hear is that tape from years ago, decades ago, perhaps. Mm-hmm. And so understanding fear of success and being able to understand where it came from, and then making the choice to retape over that tape. and move forward and redefine how you feel about your worthiness and your ability to create success or do something grand.
That's so good. You know, it's funny when I first started my first business, the audience knows that I was homeless and some other things. I mean, they've know I've had a crazy journey. But there was a point in time where the company had gotten to, my first company had gotten the top line around 15 or $16 million top line. This is like probably 10, 15 years ago. Okay. Pretty, in most cases, people were like, well, that's well done. Attaboy. Not too bad for a high school dropout. Go on with your bad self, right? Well, on the inside, it came out differently because I didn't want the team that I was leading to know I didn't know what I was doing. And as a result, that became a stumbling block for me to actually pursue to want to grow the company and scale the company further. Largely because I felt like if I scaled it further, then they would look at me more. And I was already having a hard enough time with them looking at me the way they were already looking at me. And that's how the reason I thought that was such a good one to hit on was because that's one that I personally experienced.
Yeah.
Like that's one of my personal ones that I was like, man, you know what? I still have that from time to time. You know, the larger the platform gets, the more people we're able to help, the more lives we're able to change, the more undeserving some days that you can feel. Now, would you say that is basically the articulation of the fear of success?
I would say that is a glorious articulation of the fear of success. And yet the fact that you have awareness of it, so those days you wake up and have that self-doubt or you start running that tape again, I feel good knowing that you at least have the awareness. So if we can be aware of something, then we can choose how we're going to respond to it. So those days you don't feel well, and if you can tap into that, hey, I'm not feeling very confident or I'm not feeling deserving, then you have a choice right there, that moment to go down that bunny trail of not deserving and all how that's going to impact your confidence and your energy and what you say and what you do. Or you can say, you know what, that was the old Steven and I am fully worthy. I've proven it over and over again. And now you're going to go down that trail full of more confidence and empowerment and that desire to serve, which really propels everything you do anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, this kind of bridges into one of the other questions I had for you, excuse me, which is this theology of what is the term they use? The law of attraction, right? So you can watch YouTube for hours, you can listen to podcasts for hours. The vast majority of the people that I bump into can't truly articulate what the law of attraction is, other than, well, I want it, and if I believe it hard enough, it comes to me. But I think we just kind of described it. Describe it by your perspective, because I loved how you broke it down in the book.
Well, I know from experience that not everyone believes in the law of attraction. So when I take the stage, I like to say, I believe in the law of attraction the same way I believe the world is round and that there's gravity. So I'm a big believer. But knowing that a lot of people don't have exposure to it, or as to your point, don't understand it, I gave the whole history of the law of attraction in the book. I started from the first time it was ever in print by a Russian woman in the 1800s. And then I take them through James Allen, As a Man Thinketh. And then we moved to Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. And then we moved to Esther and Jerry Hicks and the law of attraction. And then we moved to Rhonda Byrne, who The Secret really made this law of attraction very mainstream. So I gave them the whole history to know it wasn't just something we're making up and talking about now. And then I try to make it so clear that fundamentally it's what we think about, we bring about. Our thoughts every day are creating our energy, our desires, the way we act, the way we respond. Thoughts become things. And as you become more clear about that, and start taking awareness of your thoughts, you can prove it to yourself. If you're thinking thoughts of scarcity, don't be surprised that scarcity is going to show up in your life. You have thoughts of abundance, same thing. I have a mantra I say every day. That's how much I believe it. I do a couple of things every day to bring the law of attraction.
Come on, girl, give us a routine. Let's go.
Well, the first thing when I first wake up and I lay in bed, I quickly go through a gratitude list. So whatever comes to my mind, bam, 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 just whatever top things come to my mind. When I step out into my living room before I go to make coffee, I say out loud, something magical is going to happen today. Say that every day. I don't know what's going to happen, but I mean, it's better than saying it's going to be a for shit day, right? Like something magical is going to happen today. And then when I sit down at my desk, I say a little prayer. The perfect people, situations, and opportunities are going to present themselves, and I'm going to be open and aware to receive them. Like I am just open. And it doesn't surprise me when doors open. And I'm not saying bad things don't happen and I don't have disappointments and there aren't frustrations and there aren't failures. I'm not saying all that normal stuff of life doesn't happen to me. It's just my ability to, in equal or greater measures, attract more and better, or the doors that I should be walking through, or the doors that allow me to serve better, be my best self, they tend to open because of the law of attraction.
Well, I mean, it sounds like that if you bring the law of attraction down to its most common denominator, right? I think the one word focus item, this is one of the things that I've shared before that I got totally from reading your book, I'm just saying it differently, is focus. What you focus on, you find. So if you focus on growing your life, you're going to focus on ways to grow your life. If you focus on how bad your suffering is, then you're going to feel that suffering every single day. If you focus on not having the ideal mate, then you're not going to wake up to that ideal mate. If you focus on, hey, who do I need to become to attract my ideal list person, then you're going to focus on creating that person, right?
Where energy goes, well, what is it? Where focus goes, energy flows.
That's our boy Robbins, right? Tony Robbins.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's so good though. Where focus goes, energy flows. I mean, the nice, concise way of saying what we're both saying together.
And he can use it in a rap song if you wanted to. Oh my God.
You can use it in a rap song.
You don't want me rapping. I love rapping. I mean, it's good and all, but I'm not good at doing it. Well, look, this other concept. So it's funny. I wanted to kind of go on this journey where we're kind of building the process as we go, right? So we started with the things that are standing in your way, these 5 fears, right? We kind of anchored down in the fear of success, which I thought was beautiful because that led us into the law of attraction, what it is, what it's not, how you can use it, how you don't. On top of that, you've got this concept in the book that I really like, and it's called taking a vision quest. What exactly is a vision quest and how does someone actually do it?
Oh my gosh, it's so glorious. I do it twice a year. It's life-changing. And I say in the book, I was taught this process by my very first business coach, Jane Duber, and it just made such a impact on me. So it's a form of journaling, but it's not journaling in the present like most people think about it. I woke up this morning, I went for a bike ride, I came home, went to work. Okay, it is journaling, but you're going 12 months into the future. So it would be March 16th of 2022. As you sit down to write, you are a year in the future. And as you write as if it's already happened. So you're in essence making up a year of your life. Yeah. And I broke it down. We have 7 life categories that we go through, from your mental to your spirituality, to friendships, to relationships, career, work. And so you're in essence making up your next year. And so my best piece of advice I give the audience is, if you're going to make it up good, you know, and it's such a great exercise because if we can point out to people, look, I don't care if you've been playing small your whole life. This is not the time to play small. This makes a wonderful keynote. I set them up, I play a video, I get them in the perfect mindset. I've taken them through the life categories, and then I put them into journaling for 10 minutes. And it is powerful indeed. And I cannot tell you the stories. I'm very fortunate. I get a lot of repeat business when I'm out speaking, and how many times I'll go back to a city or go back to a company and they'll ask for the vision work. They'll purposefully say, of all the other stuff you're going to do this year, do the vision work also. And I have people come out of the audience during the breaks and tell me, oh my gosh, I've got to, and I know, I can already tell what they're going to say. They're going to tell me about something they wrote about that maybe in their deepest core, they weren't quite sure was going to happen, but it came to fruition, and how that has set them free to dream even bigger now.
Yeah. You know, it's so good. You know, in the live events that I do, we have a similar exercise that comes from a place of, I want you to describe your ultimate outcome 12 months later, but I want you to use all 6 senses to do it. You're like, 6 senses? Yes, the spiritual one, the one you like to ignore, that little thing on your shoulder that tells you, hey, don't do that. Oh, you should totally do that. Hey, watch out for that person. That thing, and it never fails that. If people get it super clear, so they take the time, like, you know, I had this experience as when I first started breaking away from the poverty stuff, and I had my first opportunity to go to Hawaii, for example, right? And I take them through a process when I'm telling the story. I think it's my second plane ride of all time, was on a 14-hour flight from North Carolina all the way to Maui. We land in Maui into an open air, what do they call them? The terminal. Because, in Maui, there's like, it has like a glass shell and you walk out.
Yep.
It's like a breezeway, right? And I'm like, I walked out the door. I was dog tired. But as soon as those glass doors opened, I was like, I've never smelled fresh orchids before or fresh pineapple. Walked out and somebody put it, those, not one of those plastic leis that you have at like office parties, right? This is like the full-fledged orchid like setup. And then I get my bags and I get on the tour bus thing that the company that had sponsored us to go out there for our vacation or whatever, because I bought some product from a supplier and they sent us on an incentive trip. Get on the bus, I'll put my head against the window. Out of the corner of my eye, a big glass beam of light comes straight across the water. Right, we're almost down to the west and just before you get down to the Ritz, and the beam of light comes. The sun is setting right on top of the water. And out of nowhere, a whale breaches, whoosh, and then lands. But it came out with force, and then slipped quietly in the water. And I saw, and the tail was smack dab in the middle of the sun, and it was like waving at me, like aloha, right? It was that moment that I was like, you know what? There's more. And I tell that story all the times because what you're talking about is so true. The clearer you define it, the more it's going to happen, right? Most people will say, I want $1 million. I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to have so-and-so spouse. But have you made a list of what the character traits of that person are? I don't know. Have you taken a chance to say, okay, this is how I have to change how I'm thinking and how I'm handling my money? Right? That
Devil in the details.
Yeah, that vision story, man. I'm telling you what, it's got power and it is transformational for sure.
And I talk about, like you, what music was playing, what were you wearing, what did you say, how did you feel, what did you smell? It's those details that really help bring it to life. This home I'm living in right now, I tell the story in the book. The home I'm living in right now. When I first went to the realtor and said, I live in San Diego. When I went to the realtor and said, this is what I want, new construction, high rise, 10 minutes from the airport, but I don't want to hear the airplanes, 2 bedrooms, and out of every window, I want to see trees and hear birds.
Oh.
They laughed. They're like, there's no such thing. Yeah. Wow. If you've ever been to San Diego, there's a park in San Diego called Balboa Park.
Yeah.
I'm 1 block away. So out of every window, I see trees, I hear birds. I'm 10 minutes from the airport, but I don't hear the airplanes. I mean, it is exactly what I visualized. There is something to the details. And I have 3 pages of journaling about this home that I did 2 years before I even was thinking about selling my old home.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Well, let's talk. I'm going to bring it back to the fear for just a second.
Sure.
What do you think holds people back from actually taking the time to even do such an exercise? Like, I'm curious to know your thoughts. Do you think, because it seems like to me, it might be tied to fear.
Oh, I think most every time we're paralyzed or stuck, it's tied to fear. They'd have to figure out what fear, and or 2 things it could be, Stephen, fear, but also the concept of settling. Mm-hmm. I talk about that a lot. I believe that for too many of us, we are settling in different areas of our lives, and we're settling in our health, right? We're not in the size jeans we'd prefer to be. And it's not about being skinny. It's about being fit and healthy and flexible. So we're not healthy. We're not in a relationship that makes our heart sing, or we're not in a career that gives us that creative expression. We don't have the financial security we're looking for. So we settle for a variety of reasons. But I think the 2 main reasons are because, number 1, we're not aware that we're settling. And number 2, we settle because things are good enough. It's not painful enough. So when someone's been challenged to take the next 12 months and imagine great health, great relationships, great career, great financial security, and yet they're in a space of settling for good enough, well, there's that wall of settling, and they've already talked themselves into believing that it's good enough. For many, it's hard to break through that wall and start dreaming again.
Yeah, that's so good, because I run into that myself with people. A lot of folks have been through enough, call it trials and tribulations, by the time they get to me to work with me. And as we're talking through things, I've always believed that the greatest purpose in life you have is serving the person you used to be. And I say it all the time because it's like my truth, right? P.S. We'll come back to my truth. Right? So that's kind of my concept. But when people come to me, they have had so much hit them It's almost like they're barely just kind of standing up to begin with. But it seems like the greatest replenishment that they can have is actually that dreaming again. What if? And not what if in the negative way, because you can what if yourself into oblivion, or you can what if yourself into eternity kind of scenario. So talk to me a little bit about the importance of dreaming again, since we're already on that subject.
Well, as much as dreaming and visualizing, I believe to begin the process, I like to take people to their passions.
Mm-hmm.
What are you passionate about?
Yeah.
In fact, the whole outline of the book was done. I finished the last chapter. I write linearly. I finished the last chapter and I called my editor and I said, it's not done. What do you mean? There's another chapter. It's got to come out of me. And the last chapter was not prepared, but it had to happen. And it was all about passions and how our passions drive our behavior and how our passions bring us to life in so many different ways. And I asked the question, why do we stop doing the things we love? Why do we stop doing the things we love? And that question can open doors that people closed, slammed, locked, barricaded years ago. That person you said that comes to you tired and beat up and victim and unhappy and whatnot. As much as dreaming, is there anything in their life that lights them up? Because when we're lit up, because it's something we love to do, everything's different. Our attitude's different. Our energy's different. Our behavior's different. Our courage is different. Our vision is different. So I try to do things that light me up often because I've become so clear that when I'm passionate about something, well, that carries into all areas of my life.
I love it. I love it. It's interesting. I've always said that I think there are three major questions in life. Who am I? Why am I here? And what do I do about it? In those questions, you have identity, passion, and purpose. And one of the things I love most about Outrageous Achievement is the simple fact that there is a roadmap to achieve progress in each one of those categories. And because you wrote linearly, it's almost like a step-by-step manual. That's one of the things I love about it.
That's the way my brain works, right? I tell a lot of stories. You can tell it's pretty cathartic talking about the divorce.
That's what we speakers do. We tell stories.
Yeah, we were telling all the
takeaways, man.
Stuff came up, exactly. But it just seemed like a progression. Like I wanted to hit it hard with fears, because if we're not going to address our fears, then what's the point? A highly skilled person full of fear is a highly skilled person doing nothing. And that's not what I wanted. So we started with the fears and we moved in the settling, then we moved in the law of attraction. I did on purpose move in that direction. I appreciate you saying that the exercise really do create a step-by-step. I want it to be like everything I do in my business, a combination of skills and concepts, but also the personal development concepts that will hold it up.
Well, I got a couple more questions, but before I do that, I'm sure people are like, where can I get the book? So where can people find the book right now?
And go on Amazon. It's called Outrageous Achievement by Leslie Zann, Z-A-N-N, and it's available in ebook. And I got to show you the print copy just came out. I just got my.
I did try. I had to get the ebook because apparently that Joker just came out 2 days ago.
It did. Well, we launched on my birthday. We launched February 23rd.
Well, happy birthday.
Thank you. And so the print copy is available now, and the Audible will be coming sometime in the future. And just go to Amazon. Yep.
That's awesome. Well, look, I got, like I said, I'm like a kid in the candy store. I have a couple more questions, right?
Go, baby, go.
One of my other key concepts that I really love about the book is this concept of understanding your truth, which I think is something that not many people understand. They don't understand what their truth is, how to find it, how to clarify it. Like they're kind of sleepwalking. And we're talking the people that we both work with from time to time, the high level CEOs, people in entertainment, athletic, like a whole deal. You can be at any level, peak performance achievement, the whole deal, and not have yourself aligned. And the next thing you know, obviously you can't like kind of move forward. You're like sleepwalking. Your concept of finding your truth, I thought was pivotal because I think you gave a framework to do so. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, I believe it's in what you're referencing is that chapter on personal development.
Yeah.
Like, I believe when people are not aligned, it's because they haven't done the work to figure out who they are, who they want to be, what they want to do, how they want to walk through the world. So I'm a huge believer in a personal development practice. I think you would find and agree with me that most high achievers in all areas of life share one thing in common, a personal development practice. And so knowing, again, that people could hear personal development practice, but maybe don't know where to start or what to do, I take them through all my favorite personal development practice tools, starting with reading, which I'm a voracious reader, big reader. So
I'm an
I take
audiobook guy, but hey, you know.
I take them to the reading, then the audiobooks if people don't like to read or they'd rather listen to it these days. But then I give them the different tools, meditation, journaling, vision work, all the different, and then I even bring up a topic of what I call you kindness. Things like having fresh flowers in the house, going to the spa, listening to your favorite music, getting out in nature. Those are, I believe,
But if I do
also,
that, I'm taking care of me, and taking care of me is bad. I have to take care of everybody else, right?
yeah, well, well, that people pleasing concept is not so uncommon, as you know.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, be in the middle of three girls, I can totally get the whole people pleaser aspect of it. So, but to come to your truth, as you said, which is so important, and our truth is going to change as we evolve and mature and us, start becoming the person we aspire to be. I believe the secret truly is that commitment to personal development. And when I talk about it, I recommend 30 minutes a day, and not books on leadership, even though I read books on leadership, and not spiritual books. I read spiritual book every day, not books, biographies of people who have gone to the top, even though I'm a big biography reader. I'm talking about the type of books, Stephen, that are going to get you to think about you.
Yeah.
What's in your head? What are you thinking? Where do you get stuck? Where do you get paralyzed? What has to happen for you to doubt, freeze, deny, so that you can start understanding, so you can start to act, think, believe, do differently?
Absolutely. The funny thing is, it's not even funny. I guess I say funny thing. It's not a funny thing. It's an important thing. It's a sense of awakening, right? And you fast became America's Millionaire Mentor. I'm curious about how you had your awakening and how you ended up going that direction, where you're working with so many successful people, pouring into their lives. And how do you keep from getting burnout yourself by doing so much pouring?
Those are two very good questions. So the first one, how did I get to work with these top achievers? Well, first I was a top achiever, went into two things happen. Number one, they know I'm not bullshitting them. And number two, they can't fake me out either. So the fact that I've walked in their shoes makes it for a very good relationship. Yeah. And to be able to work with top producers, I have found top producers in the sales field, you've got to earn their trust. So I've never let anyone down. Like we all know the different ways you can let people down in big business. I've never let anyone down. So one of my top core values is truth. And so I have a leadership code I live by. So just three parts. It's very simple. Tell your truth. So did I tell my truth? Live up to your commitments. If I say I'm going to deliver, if I say I'm going to be there, live up to my commitments. And number three, do my best. And that's how I live my life. And top achievers with large sales teams trust me to work with them and their teams. I believe, number one, you got to bring it. Okay, so you got to bring the goods for sure. Yeah. But you also have to never let them down. So that trust factor, and I don't think that's just in my business. I really would love to see a higher level of that in all levels of business, but really that is a life core value, Steve. I think you would agree.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Well, all right. Well, you got to tell me how you prevent burnout, because I know when you're trying to serve people at scale, I experienced this myself. Yeah. I did an all-day boot camp last Friday, had a tremendous turnout, which was fantastic, but I went home completely fried. My wife's like, "What'd you do today?" And I was like, "I don't remember." How do you prevent your burnout? Maybe I'm gonna take some notes while you talk.
When we give for a living, well, a couple of things. Some of them are just basic fundamental things. I get a good night's sleep.
Yeah.
I exercise. right? So every Saturday and Sunday, I'm on my bike. I had never been a cyclist since COVID. And so I took out my old grandma bike, started riding, found a mentor, started doing road biking, got myself a BMC, got myself the SPT pills. And now I'm riding 40 to 60 miles every weekend. Like I'm a cyclist. And so that good exercise, having regular exercise is a super release and a great way to get it out. I do my yoga a couple times a week. I get out for a walk. I do my morning practice. I surround myself with friends and family who love me and support me and I can talk to and whatnot. And I take quiet time. This is something I think is not on everybody's list. I'll just sit and stare out at the trees, or I'll go sit in the park and just have quiet time. I think in these days, being able to turn off and unplug and know that the world will still turn without us is really important. And that's one of the things with social media. Yes, it's important and part of how we operate, especially in our profession.
Yeah.
But I've made a commitment to myself, a couple of things, that I'm not going to let it define me. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to define my self-worth by number of followers or number of likes or number of responses. I'm going to use social media in a supportive way and engage out of authenticity and not from need. And I'm going to be able to turn it off and let it go. And so I think that's really important. Quiet time at night, I think is really important too. And equally important, all those basic fundamentals, I pour back into me. I love being a student. I love taking classes where I'm not the teacher. I love learning new things. I love being creative. And that actually is a marvelous way for me to rejuvenate when I am in a learning mode, having my beginner's mind on. And finally, now that I just got my first shot yesterday, bam, 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 and my life's going to be a little different here in a few months. I like to get away for a quiet retreat. I like to take a week off. I like to go to a place called Rancho La Puerta in Tecate. I've been a presenter there for many years, and I'm planning on going there this summer, not as a presenter, just as a chateau relaxo. And I turn my phone off for 7 days. Wow. 7 days completely unplugged, and it does not bother me in the least.
So good, so good. I have enjoyed having you. We've got to have you back on again.
I would love it.
So inspirational, and so honestly, you're just empowering. Like I just feel like we have a similar vibe, kind of thing. So.
As every time I've seen you or watched your videos, and like you said, we had that little conversation in Clubhouse, and I felt the same thing. I said, I was watching you the other day going, I know it's not everyone has the same, not that it's right or wrong or good or bad or whatever, but there's certain levels of energy that when you see a kindred spirit or feel a kindred spirit, you know it.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too, is I think it's, people with, difficult stories like my own. And of course, we didn't jump into a lot of yours. I've been through a divorce before. I know how painful that is and all the things that go with that, identity and everything that goes in with that. A lot of times people are in those zones by the time that they watch or listen to things like this. And I think that the transparency that comes out of it, we're using, say, look, we learned this principle by experiencing this pain. We learned this principle by experiencing this pain. This principle by experience, like it's, pain and adversity of itself is probably the greatest teacher that we'll ever have, right? You wouldn't even know what a bliss felt like if you haven't experienced some level of, pain, trauma, some kind of, and a trauma to one person might be an insignificant thing to another person, but they also have their trauma that would be insignificant. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I don't know. We're kindred spirits all day long.
That could be a whole other show because, as you heard in the book, I mean, divorce, illness, house burned down, bankruptcy, illness. I mean, nothing was ever life and death, but I had my fair share of what I call B traumas. And, there's that famous Vince Lombardi quote, it's not whether you get knocked down, it's whether you get back up. Well, I shift that just a little bit and say it's not whether you get knocked down, because we know we're going to get knocked down. It's whether we get back up transformed. That's right. And that is a choice. When I hear people say our life's biggest challenges can be our best lessons. Yes, if we choose to have them be our best lessons, and then we have a choice of, is it going to be a lesson of victimhood or is it going to be a lesson of empowerment? So we could do a whole hour on overcoming adversity, Stephen. I would love that.
All right, we're going to get our people back together and make sure that that happens. But in the meantime, I can't thank you enough for hanging out with me today. I had such a blast. Everybody go check out Outrageous Achievement. You're going to love it. Everybody's going to love you, Leslie. Thank you so much for coming on, girl. I really appreciate it. Big time.
Thank you, Stephen. Really a pleasure.
All right. Take care.
All right. It's up to you to actually have outstanding achievement. And to make that even more beneficial for you and more attainable, you got to check out this next interview right here. Check it out.
Start to make choices from the woman or the man in the vision, right? Mm-hmm. Being able to understand fear and welcome it in and know I love it. And here it is like, hey, little fear buddy.